that say the ANC will be voted out of power are dreaming. Now, that's according to Deputy President Didi Mabuza. Mabuza was giving the keynote address at the Peter Mokaba Memorial Lecture in Limpopo yesterday. In December, the party will be electing new leadership, and Mabuza took this opportunity to call out corruption and factionalism within the ANC, which he says is crippling the party. Let's dissect this now with political analyst Omri Mahoale. Omri, good morning, and thank you very much for your time as usual. You know, the Deputy President there basically said analysts and detractors who warn of a future where the ANC might possibly not be in power are dreaming. But one wonders if it's a dream or a strong possibility given the myriad of issues. I mean, for one, the cost of living is at its highest. Eskom is at its lowest insofar as generation capacity is concerned. What do you make of that statement? Is he actually living in the current world? Is he with us?
Yes, let me first say that I'm not a sangoma or a prophet by any chance. And we can't really predict exactly what the numbers will be like, but according to the current assessment is that we are losing support in Gauteng and KZN in a serious way. So, and we, according to the present predictions, we think that Gauteng will go down and KwaZulu-Natal will go down. But this will depend on what we do between now and 2024 elections. This will depend on that. If the ANC will be in a position to come with some radical ways of fighting corruption that is convincing to the population, things might be different. If the ANC will be in a position to stop the rail infrastructure destruction, the cable theft, and the manholes that are open throughout the country, with children unfortunately going into those manholes. If the ANC can stop this in the next years before 2024, anything can happen. Maybe the elections might be different.
Mm-hmm. But
with the current trend, where everything is going down, where corruption continues unabated, where the rail infrastructure continues to be destroyed, where the cables are stolen left, right, and center, where the scrap yards are booming because of our lack of policing and so on. I think under the current, it's safe to predict that Gauteng and KZN are likely to be lost for the ANC. Mm-hmm. Well, the deputy president has got the right to express his views, and like anybody, he's got the right to express his views. Mm-hmm. But with the current trend, with the current ways of doing things in the ANC, Gauteng and KZN are likely to go down.
Mm-hmm. And really we're talking about the current because on any other day or any other week, perhaps one could be hopeful as an African National Congress member and leader to say that they will not be out of power. But this particular week, a week where we've seen stage 6, which we last saw in 2019, one would say there would be a degree of humility or introspection when one even addresses members to say, we possibly are in trouble. Because that would say that he really has an appreciation of the moment we find ourselves in as South Africa under the leadership or government of the African National Congress. So would you think in this current moment that level of confidence is actually warranted?
Yes, look, I think that as a leader, probably he has to show that level of confidence because he doesn't want to scare his subordinates inside the ANC. He doesn't want to scare them, and he must show confidence as a leader. But deep down, he knows that we have to work harder as the ANC to stop the trend. Because if the ANC can't work hard between now and 2024, definitely we will lose Gauteng. So he's aware of that. I think in his deep mind, he's aware of that. But to say it in public is another thing because it now scares the subordinates, scares the supporters. So it might not be good for him to admit publicly that the ANC is going down. It might not be good for him.
Mm-hmm. One thing that many have praised the ANC for is being able to characterize the problems. They're very good at diagnosing the problems. He also went on to state there that really leadership squabbles and corruption stand in the way of the party's success. But it's always the implementation aspect. But one could even say He said it so simply. It sounds just like two issues, leadership squabbles and corruption. But these have plagued the party since its formation. We've had situations even in the 1949s with Dr. Xuma and J.S. Moroka. There have been issues around leadership. It's poor handling, a lot of contestation, people die, and then the corruption, which has creeped beyond perhaps just certain factions within the political party. It affects ordinary citizens, where some of these people are deployed into government and then we lose as citizens. So really, where is the struggle insofar as implementing? Because the diagnosis is always there. The ANC knows what's wrong, but somehow they still cannot fix the problems.
Yes, at the moment, the key problem is the method of electing leaders inside the ANC, and also the method of electing members of parliament. Those are the two key problems at the moment. The other problems that they are talking about are not really the key problems. The problems is how we elect leaders inside the ANC. The method of electing leaders that is used at the moment, what is called the branch delegate conference format, where one delegate represents 50 members, has been corrupted beyond. And so all these delegates that go to this conference are bribed. Today is money, and bribery. So all these conferences of ANC at the moment, where they elect leaders, the delegates are bribed. And those who have more money in brown envelopes win the elections, rather than those who've got integrity. So the problems of today are completely different from the ones Dr. Xuma faced, or the ones Sfako Makgatho faced way back, The problems of today are completely different. The method of electing leaders inside the ANC, that is the key problem.
But we've heard this problem around your electoral reforms that are needed. I mean, Gwede Mantashe has spoken of these before, even going as far as speaking about the quality of the cadre. Even Thabo Mbeki has spoken about perhaps vetting the kind of cadres that actually continue with you guys and probably letting some go. But even with that said, the change wasn't made to perhaps have every ANC member voting as opposed to certain delegates representing 50. So what has been the problem in changing that aspect of voting, where every vote counts, everybody makes a decision for themselves who must be their leader?
It's lack of will. It's lack of will inside the ANC to introduce one ANC member, one vote, and one person, one vote for members of parliament. It's lack of will inside the ANC. According to ANC procedures, these proposals must pass through the branches. The branches must adopt them first. From the branches, they must go to the zones, from the zones to the regions, from the regions to the province, and then ultimately to the National General Council. And this has not happened, but basically it's due to lack of will by the current incumbents to actually introduce these proposals of one member, one vote. They don't want them, the leaders, and so we're trying to campaign that they should be introduced, because we think that is the way to rescue and renew the ANC in the 21st century.
And then what do you make of NEC member Nomvula Mkonyane actually being quoted as saying they were not told of the current issues at Eskom, particularly that we would possibly be moving to stage 6, and raising concern that some of those people that have been deployed do not account to the African National Congress that has taken them there? What do you make of that statement?
I think, well, that shows that divisions inside the ANC leadership, because ideally the NEC of the ANC should have discussed the problems of Eskom, because it's of critical importance. The NEC should have discussed it, and they should have been briefed by Minister Godan as to what are the problems, what are the different, as NEC members. That is how the procedures should be like. But the fact that they were not told, it shows that things are not running normal in the ANC office, or National Working Committee is not functioning properly. That could be the problems, and also it could be the problems of the slates inside the ANC, RET factions, Tumamina factions, not respecting each other, tearing each other apart inside the ANC office. So that could be the problem. But ideally, she should be knowing, she should have been told, or she should have discussed this in the NEC of ANC, and she should be knowing what the problems are in Eskom and what are the proposals from Minister Godam and his team, So if the fact that she doesn't know, it's unfortunate.
Omri, thank you very much for your insights. That's political analyst Omri Makgaole. To this